Friday, August 13th, 2021, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Yes, it's Friday the 13th today. Anyway, today I want to talk about geopolitics, the dollar, Afghanistan, because I think there are a lot of parallels with what's going on today in 2021 with what was going on in 1989 to 1991. And what was going on then? Well, the Soviet Union was crumbling. The Soviet Empire started crumbling probably around 88. The Soviet Union had been in Afghanistan for 10 years since the Soviets invaded Afghanistan in December of 1979. I remember that very well. I was about 15 at the time. So some of you, of course, were not alive then, but might know the history. That triggered a boycott of the Summer Olympics by the US, which was going to be held, of course, in Moscow in 1980. That led to occupation of Afghanistan for 10 years by the part of the Soviets. I've talked about this a few years ago on this channel about geopolitics. And a geographer, a writer, a politician, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s in the UK. He was called Halford John Mackinder, and he spoke about the geographical pivot of history and how Eurasia was so important to controlling the world. And in my opinion, Afghanistan is a big part of this pivot area that he talked about. So this is what he said in 1919. Who rules East Europe commands the heartland. Who rules the heartland commands the world island. Who rules the world island commands the world. And I would say Eurasia is a big part of this. Said as well, any power which controlled the world island would control well over 50% of the world's resources. The heartland size and central position made it the key to controlling the world island. Yeah, the world island is Eurasia. And I think Afghanistan is a huge part of controlling Asia. Just looking here at the map of Afghanistan, if you've got control of Afghanistan, you can come down from Russia, down from China, through Pakistan, into what's called the Arabian Sea, but also the Indian Ocean. You can also have access from China to the whole of Asia and the Middle East with their one belt, one road. So I think it's huge what's going on there. And I think it could be pointing to the fall of empire. And Afghanistan has always been a very difficult place to control for centuries. And America and its allies, they've been there since late 2001 because of what happened in September that year. They thought it was clever to go into Afghanistan. They've been there for 20 years and now they're withdrawing. So they've been able to stay 10 more years than the Soviets. It is debatable whether it was only what happened in Afghanistan in the last 10 years of the Soviet Empire that brought it down, but I think it helped massively because it chipped away at the Soviet Union's credit, at its resource wherewithal. That war took a huge toll on the Soviet Union. And from 88 to 91, it just imploded. And we know what happened in the 90s to Russia. It was a basket case. So if we look back at the United States in 2001, we've got national debt at 3.3 trillion. National debt now is fast approaching 30 trillion. So the national debt has gone up 10 times almost since the United States invaded Afghanistan, and since it's been there for 20 years, GDP at the time was almost 11 trillion. Now GDP is 22 trillion. So things have really deteriorated economically, fiscally, and I would say the UK is part of this as well, because if you read the headlines today, it says UK troops sent to get Britons out as Taliban advances. That was a BBC headline. The Guardian says Afghanistan likened to fall of Saigon as officials confirm Taliban take Kandahar. I would liken it more to the fall of the Soviet Union, actually. But anyway, the Mail says, Daily Mail, UK sends 600 troops back to Afghanistan to help British nationals flee the advancing Taliban. I think a few weeks ago, Chinese officials were in Afghanistan meeting, I don't know if they're meeting Taliban officials, but whoever. So the Chinese are there. Afghanistan is known to have a huge amount of minerals underneath its surface. So that's another interesting thing. So who's gained from these 20 years in Afghanistan? Why couldn't the United States with its allies defeat a country like Afghanistan? If we look at World War II, it took 4 years to defeat the German Reich, which was a much more powerful organization than the Taliban in Afghanistan. Well, I think there's a lot of debate about that as well. I would probably say that a lot of people benefited from this. People, especially in the military, industrial, corporate complex, they've benefited a lot from it. And who's lost it? This endless war almost, this 20-year war? Well, I think it's the American public, the general public, and also the public in the UK and the public everywhere around the West. We're much poorer now. Our currencies have been decimated since that war started, and literally decimated if you look at it in terms of gold. When the US invaded Afghanistan, gold was around $250. Yes, we're not at 2,500, but very close to that. So it's decimated versus gold. Inflation is raging. I made a video yesterday about whether CPI or inflation had peaked. A lot of people a couple of days ago said that CPI peaked just because the annual number didn't go above the previous month's number. But then yesterday we got PPI, which was a huge upside surprise, the producer price index. That's going to translate into higher consumer prices throughout the rest of this year. So yes, I think unlike The Guardian, I liken this to the fall of the Soviet Union, and this would be the fall of the petrodollar, the fall of the Anglo-American Empire, or the fall of Pax Americana. And you kind of wonder why the US is withdrawing now from Afghanistan. Why can't they just stay another 10 years, keep ramping up the deficits, the debts, keep enriching their friends in the military industrial complex, and I would argue also their friends in the financial banking complex, because more and more debt means more fees for JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, HSBC, all the primary dealers to the New York Fed. Well, maybe because there's something behind the scenes that we don't know is happening, and someone knows that the game is up, so they have to withdraw from Afghanistan. They've got too much there, and they're going to have to focus on the homeland, so to speak. I don't like using that term, but that's what it is. The same thing happened in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union had loads of republics. It controlled the whole of almost the whole of Asia. And they all broke away from 1988. And by 1991, the Soviet Union had ceased to exist. Am I saying the United States is going to cease to exist? I don't know, but something is happening, in my opinion, and this is what it marks. And I think this withdrawal from Afghanistan is very significant. It means the United States, or Uncle Sam, probably is losing control of its finances, because why wouldn't it stay there for another 5 or 10 years if it could? It's been very profitable for the deep state, the military industrial complex. So I think we need to keep an eye on things very closely. I think some people are not putting too much focus on what's going on in Afghanistan, but I think it's highly significant. And with the Soviet Union, of course, by November 7th, 1991, so that was a couple of years after the Soviet Union withdrew from Afghanistan. This is what Wikipedia says. Most newspapers refer to the country as the former Soviet Union. So there you go. Yes, and as I said as well, it's highly significant in terms of the One Belt, One Road project that China has, because it's very important. Afghanistan, it's right smack in the middle of Asia there. It gives Russia and all those former republics access to the Indian or Arabian Ocean through Pakistan. Afghanistan borders Iran, it borders China, it borders Pakistan. Very strategic. And yes, another empire, I think, has bitten the dust with its adventure in Afghanistan. And I would say, yeah, the biggest losers, unfortunately, have been the public. And we'll have to wait and see the repercussions. I think they're going to be highly significant. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together and compare it to other timelines in history, especially the Soviet Union. So with that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's 8:30 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at $17.58. That's up just over $5. High has been $17.60 and the low $17.50. So gold is up 1/3%. As I said yesterday, silver didn't look very good. Even the day before, it was underperforming gold as gold was moving up quite significantly. And it continued lower yesterday. They even took silver below 23. But this morning, things have reversed a little bit, and silver is outperforming gold. We're up almost 1% or 20 cents at 23.37. Range has been 23.01 to 23.44. The Dow future is up 11. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 11 as well. S&P is virtually unchanged. To the currencies, we've got sterling testing 138. It's unchanged overnight, but I think the technical picture is not looking very good for sterling right now. We had rebounded in the last few weeks from a pretty big drop towards like 137, even below 137, back up to almost 140, and now we're going back down, it seems. The euro is unchanged, 117.33. The dollar's down 1/8% versus the yen at 110.27. And the dollar is up slightly versus the yuan at 648.27. Aussie dollar is up slightly versus the dollar at 73.40. And the dollar is down about 0.1% versus the Canadian dollar at 125.15. WTI crude is down just under 1% at 68.40. High-grade copper is up 0.2% at 436.94. And the 10-year yield is down 3 basis points at 134. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great weekend. Take care. Bye.